October 4 Saturday is not a date on a calendar, but a hidden key, placed in the hands of those who dare to see that the ordinary day conceals the extraordinary, that the common hours carry a summons to victory, and that within the overlooked patterns of time lies a secret architecture of triumph. For what is a day, if not a vessel of eternity disguised in the fragile wrapping of minutes? We are quick to number them, quicker still to discard them, as though they were pebbles scattered along the road, yet the truth is that every day is more like a sealed letter, posted from heaven, addressed to the soul, containing instruction, invitation, and promise. And October 4 Saturday, though it looks like any other square on the page, bears upon it an unseen weight, a significance that belongs not to accident or to chance, but to the hidden order of things. Consider the way the seasons turn, how the leaves in their quiet surrender to autumn bear not merely death, but the intimation of life reborn. In such fashion, October 4 Saturday appears to us not as the grey repetition of time, but as a signpost set in the wilderness, declaring to every traveller that here, in this place, you are given a key. Not a key of iron, nor of brass, nor of the locks that fasten gates, but a key fashioned from awareness itself, from the awakening of sight. For the one who walks blindly through time will pass over this day as over many others, seeing nothing but the surface of hours. But the one whose heart has been trained to discern the music beneath the noise will hear a different sound, will feel a stirring in the marrow that whispers. This is the moment when the door opens. The triumph hidden within October 4 is not triumph in the sense the world teaches us. The world shouts that victory belongs to the swift, the strong, the cunning, and the ruthless. But the deeper wisdom knows otherwise. Victory is not in the crown won, but in the courage to stand, not in the riches gathered, but in the willingness to lose all and still hold fast to truth. Thus, October 4 Saturday confronts us with the question, what do you call winning? Is it applause, recognition, and the fleeting garland placed on your brow by mortal hands? Or is it the quiet mastery of self, the refusal to yield to despair, the choice to rise when all within you would rather sink into dust? This is the key, for once you answer the question of what victory truly is, you hold in your hand the power to unlock the hidden architecture of the day. And make no mistake, this architecture exists. Each day is woven of strands, both visible and invisible. The visible strands are errands, conversations, tasks, and routines. The invisible strands are the opportunities to grow in patience, to forgive when wronged, to speak truth when silence tempts, to pray when noise clamors, to lift the fallen when your arms themselves are weary. These invisible strands are stronger than steel, though they are hidden from eyes that care only for the measurable and the immediate. October 4 Saturday is filled with such strands, a web of opportunities disguised as interruptions, delays, trials, and small joys. To recognize them is to find the key placed into your keeping. It is worth asking why keys are ever hidden. Why does triumph not announce itself with banners unfurled and trumpets sounding in the street? Why does the extraordinary hide itself in the folds of the ordinary? The answer is simple and profound. Because it is only to those who look deeper that true triumph may be entrusted. Were it handed to all without discernment, it would be squandered, mistaken for bauble or ornament. But given to those who have eyes to see, it becomes the opening of a door that leads to places others cannot imagine. Thus October 4 Saturday is not for the careless observer, but for the watchful soul who suspects that even a date on the calendar may hold mysteries too great for dismissal. The key is not heavy, but it requires strength. Strength not of muscle, but of faith. For to take the day seriously is to risk seeming foolish. Who believes that Saturday could be more than leisure? That October 4 could be more than another leaf falling in the year's decline? Yet those who mocked the ark until the rain fell, those who scoffed at seeds buried in the earth until the harvest came, they too discovered that hidden within what seemed ordinary was the pulse of eternity. So it is with this day. Those who carry the key will find that what seemed unremarkable is in fact the turning of a hinge upon which much depends. To win, then, on October 4 is not to crush an enemy, but to recognize the enemy within. It is to take the key and open the chamber where fear has lodged itself, and to drive it out with the light of courage. It is to unlock the room where bitterness has bolted the door, and to let in the air of forgiveness. It is to open the cage where smallness of spirit has been kept prisoner by pride, and to set free a largeness of heart that no chain can bind. These are victories that cannot be counted in the coinage of markets, nor displayed in trophies on the shelf, but they are victories that endure when all the world's monuments lie broken. October 4 Saturday is a key you win, because the day itself demands a response. You may let it pass, and the key will slip through your fingers as sand through an open hand. Or you may grasp it, and in doing so, discover that it opens not just the doors of this day, but doors stretching into the corridors of your life. And each door you open reveals another, until you find yourself walking a path marked not by chance, but by a design that whispers of purpose and destiny. Think of the child who finds a key on the ground. To him, it is a trinket, curious in shape, pleasing to carry. But to the one who knows the lock it opens, it is treasure beyond price. So it is with October 4. To the indifferent, it is nothing but a Saturday. To the wise, it is the turning point of a great unfolding. And here lies the summons: do not despise the ordinary. For the ordinary is the veil of the extraordinary. The familiar hides the eternal. The commonplace is the cloak of the miraculous. When you take this to heart, you will never look at a date, a task, a meeting, or a conversation the same way again. You will see that each carries weight, that each bears within it a secret invitation to victory. October 4 Saturday is the parable made flesh in time, the mustard seed of a day that, when planted with faith, grows into a tree vast enough for the birds of heaven to find shelter in its branches. And so, when you hold the calendar in your hands and trace your finger over the inked squares, remember that one square among many may be the hinge upon which your whole life turns. October 4 Saturday is such a hinge. To win here is not merely to succeed for a moment, but to align yourself with the great arc of eternity bending toward triumph. To win here is to recognize that even the smallest gear, rightly turned, sets the entire clockwork of destiny in motion. To win here is to understand that the day itself is whispering, take the key. Use it. The door is ready to be opened. To win is not to conquer another, but to master the inward self, to rise where shadows say we must fall, and to hold the flame of courage when the winds of despair blow fiercest. The world has always misunderstood this, and because it misunderstands, it teaches its children lies about victory. It tells them that victory is loud, that it comes with banners and acclaim, that it is measured in the defeat of enemies and the applause of multitudes. But this is a half-truth at best, and more often a falsehood. For what profit is there in conquering a city if one is conquered within? What good is it to lay another low if one's own spirit lies prostrate before fear, bitterness, or despair? To win is not what the eyes of the crowd see, but what is hidden in the unseen theater of the heart. Consider the soldier who marches in triumph through the gates of the city, the laurel crown upon his brow, the roar of the multitude in his ears. Yet within him festers envy, rage, and emptiness. He has conquered a people, but has he conquered himself? Compare him to the solitary soul who wrestles in silence against despair, who refuses to let go of hope when every voice, within and without, urges surrender. That soul may never hear the trumpet or receive the garland, but he has tasted victory deeper than any general who has crushed nations. For it is not the might of one's hand that determines greatness, but the strength of one's heart to stand unmoved when all else collapses. To master the inward self is no small task. Indeed, it is the hardest battle ever given to humanity. The foe without can often be faced with sword or strategy, but the foe within is subtler, more cunning, more relentless. Pride will whisper in the night, fear will crouch at the threshold, despair will cloud the sight, and selfishness will clamor louder than any army. Against these, no blade forged by smiths will suffice. Only the sword of resolve, the shield of faith, the armor of perseverance can stand against them. This is why so few taste true victory, for it is easier to build an empire than to rule the kingdom of the heart. Yet this is precisely where October 4 Saturday presses its lesson, for it sets before us the challenge of inward mastery. The day whispers, "Rise where shadows say you must fall," and the shadows will indeed say it. They will tell you that your failures define you, that your wounds have undone you, that your fears are stronger than your strength. They will parade before your eyes every moment of weakness, every betrayal, every word spoken against you, every dream that has died, and they will shout, "You cannot rise again." And yet the true victory is to rise precisely then, to take the step when your legs tremble, to speak truth when your voice falters, to hold the line when every reason argues for retreat. In that moment, though the crowd does not see it, though no headline records it, you have won a triumph greater than the collapse of kingdoms. The flame of courage is a delicate thing. It does not blaze like the fires that consume forests. It flickers, small, often unseen, like the lamp in a window on a stormy night. But do not despise the flicker. The smallest flame has power enough to push back the thickest darkness. Despair is a wind, fierce and unrelenting, and its purpose is not merely to chill, but to extinguish the flame altogether. Yet courage is not the absence of fear, nor the denial of danger. It is the stubborn insistence that the flame shall not be blown out. It is the hand cupped around the light, shielding it though the skin burns from the cold. It is the choice to kindle it again when it has nearly died. The courage to keep burning, even when despair howls, is the truest mark of victory. Think of the mountain climber who stands at the base of a great peak. The summit is hidden in clouds, the winds are fierce, the path is treacherous. Many begin the climb, but most turn back when the air thins, when the muscles ache, when the stones slip beneath their feet. To reach the top is rare, and those who do are hailed as conquerors of the mountain. Yet the mountain was never the true adversary. The true adversary was the voice within that said, "You cannot go on." To silence that voice, to place one foot above the other when all the body cries out for rest, that is the inward mastery. And when the climber at last stands upon the summit, he knows that his victory is not over rock and ice, but over himself. In the same way, every life is a climb, and every day presents slopes, storms, and shadows. To win is to keep climbing when retreat is easier, to face the wind with unflinching resolve, to guard the flame of courage though it burns low. The world may not notice your ascent, but heaven does, and eternity remembers. And when despair thinks to write your ending, your perseverance writes another chapter. This is victory. It is easy to mistake noise for strength. The loud boast, the thunderous charge, the glare of triumph displayed for all to see. These are the counterfeit coins of victory. True strength is quiet, steady, unseen by the multitude. It is the man who forgives though he has every right to hate. It is the woman who hopes though she has every reason to despair. It is the child who trusts though the world seems unsafe. These victories are invisible to the marketplace, but monumental in eternity. To hold the flame of courage in such moments is to master oneself, and in mastering oneself, to conquer more than armies ever could. There is, too, the mystery that in mastering oneself, one transforms the world. For courage is contagious. The flame once guarded becomes light for others. The one who rises against despair gives strength to another to rise as well. And thus a single inward victory becomes a cascade of triumphs beyond counting. The self-mastered becomes the self that inspires. The heart that refuses despair becomes the beacon for those lost in the storm. This is why the key of victory is given not to those who crush others, but to those who conquer themselves. Their triumphs ripple outward, unseen yet unstoppable, shaping destinies far beyond their own. The winds of despair are never silent. They return again and again to test whether the flame still burns. Do not think that one victory secures the battle forever. Each day brings its own shadows, its own whispering voices, its own storms. But herein lies the paradox. Though the battle is unending, each act of courage is complete in itself. Each time you rise when shadows say fall, Each time you guard the flame when despair howls, you have won a victory that can never be undone. And though you may feel the weakness of your arms, though you may stumble and rise again, though the struggle may exhaust you, every moment of courage becomes part of an eternal tapestry of triumph. Thus, winning is not the single conquest, not the one moment of glory, but the daily mastery of the self. It is the long faithfulness, the steady rising, the flame held high in storm after storm. To live thus is to win, whether the world applauds or not. And when at last the journey ends, when the final shadow falls, and the winds of despair blow their last, the flame you have carried will be found still burning. And that, above all, is victory. The key does not turn in locks of gold, but in the humble hinges of daily choices, where faith, endurance, and steadfastness open doors no empire can shut. We are accustomed to thinking of keys as things of grandeur, shining and ornate, fit for kings and palaces. We imagine them wrought of precious metal, encrusted with jewels, symbols of wealth and dominion. But the true key, the one that opens the doors of life's deepest victories, is nothing of the kind. It is simple, unadorned, hidden in plain sight. It is the daily decision made when no one applauds, the small act of faith when no one notices, the quiet perseverance when no reward seems to follow. These humble hinges bear more weight than the gates of kingdoms, for upon them swing the doors of eternity. There is a tendency in human hearts to despise the ordinary. We long for the dramatic, the spectacular, the moments that will be remembered in songs and written in books. Yet the truth is that history turns not on the grand gestures alone, but on the steady, faithful choices of countless unseen lives. The mother who comforts her child though her own heart is weary. The worker who does what is right though no one is watching. The friend who keeps his word though it costs him dearly. These are the hinges upon which destiny turns. And though the world may never record their names, the doors they open remain open long after empires crumble. Faith is the first hinge, and it is the smallest looking of all. It appears fragile, like a thread stretched across a gulf, and many scoff at it as weakness or folly. But what looks frail is in truth stronger than steel, for faith does not rest upon itself, but upon the unseen foundation that undergirds the whole cosmos. To trust when you cannot see, to believe when sight fails, is to take hold of a key that no force of darkness can wrest from your hand. Faith may feel like a whisper, but it unlocks the thunder. Faith may seem like the step of a child, but it opens the way for giants. And when all else trembles and collapses, faith stands, and by standing, it keeps the door open. Endurance is the second hinge, and it creaks with the wear of long struggle. It is not glamorous, it is not the sudden burst of triumph, but the slow, steady pressing forward when each step feels heavier than the last. Endurance is the runner who keeps moving though his lungs burn and his legs cry out for rest. It is the soul who refuses to abandon hope though prayers seem unanswered and the night stretches endlessly on. Endurance does not dazzle, but it endures, and in enduring it outlasts all opposition. The enemies of the soul are tireless, but endurance proves more tireless still, for it draws strength not from the self alone, but from a wellspring deeper than self. To endure is to carry the key through storm and shadow until at last the door gives way. Steadfastness is the third hinge, and it is the hinge of character. It is not the sudden leap of faith, nor the prolonged press of endurance, but the steady refusal to be moved. It is the rock that holds against the waves, the anchor that grips in the storm, the tree that does not bow though the winds rage around it. Steadfastness is the soul that says, "Here I stand, I shall not yield," and means it. To be steadfast is to hold the flame of courage through countless nights, to remain true when betrayals sting, to stay upright when temptations pull. In steadfastness, the key is not only held but turned, and the door, once locked, swings wide. It is worth asking why the locks are so often placed upon humble doors, rather than upon gates of splendor. Why should the greatest victories come through choices that seem so small? The answer is that greatness is not tested in the arenas of applause, but in the secret chambers where only the soul and eternity bear witness. If a man cannot be faithful in the small, he will never be faithful in the great. If he cannot endure a minor hardship, he will crumble in a major one. If he is not steadfast in the daily temptations, he will collapse in the decisive hour. Thus it is that the true locks are placed upon the doors of daily life, and only those who are willing to turn the key again and again in such small hinges find that the larger gates open of themselves. Consider the farmer who rises each morning before dawn. His work is not dramatic, not celebrated, not adorned with praise. Day after day he labors, tilling, planting, watering, weeding. And yet in the slow unfolding of time, the harvest comes, abundant and life-giving, feeding multitudes who never knew his name. So it is with faith, endurance, and steadfastness. They do not shine with glamour, but they yield a harvest more enduring than any treasure mined from the earth. Their fruit is life, not only for the one who labors, but for countless others who are nourished by the doors he has opened. And what of those who despise such hinges, who seek only locks of gold and keys of power? They may indeed open doors for a time, but such doors close as quickly as they are opened. Empires rise and fall, wealth accumulates and dissipates, fame burns brightly and then dies into ashes. But the door opened by faith never closes. The door unlocked by endurance remains open for generations. The door swung wide by steadfastness cannot be shut by any earthly hand. These are the doors no empire can shut, because they are not of this world's building but of eternity's design. The humble hinges also test the heart. For anyone can act bravely once, in the sight of all. But who can act bravely every day, in the sight of none? Anyone can endure one great hardship with drama and recognition. But who can endure the small daily grind with quiet patience? Anyone can be steadfast when the world applauds his stand. But who can be steadfast when he stands alone? These questions reveal the true nature of victory. It is not in the momentary blaze, but in the steady flame. It is not in the sudden leap, but in the long walk. It is not in the glorious gesture, but in the repeated faithfulness. There is also a kind of beauty in the humility of the key. For it reminds us that the greatest doors are not opened by those who consider themselves great. The proud grasp for the golden key, thinking it their right, but find the lock unyielding. The humble take the plain key, thinking it small, and discover it fits every door. Thus the kingdom of heaven is hidden in the mustard seed, the pearl is buried in the field, the treasure is concealed in clay jars. Faith, endurance, and steadfastness look unremarkable, but they contain the power to turn the locks of the universe. And when the doors open, they open not only for the one who turned the key, but for many others. The man who chooses faith in despair inspires others to believe. The woman who endures suffering with courage strengthens the weary beside her. The steadfast soul who holds to truth when lies abound keeps the path clear for those who follow. The doors open into halls where countless others may walk, and their lives are changed because one person chose the humble hinge over the golden lock. The locks of gold are illusions. They glitter, they tempt, they promise quick access to glory and power. But their doors lead only into empty chambers, their hinges rust, their rooms collapse into dust. The humble hinges may look plain, but their doors open into light, into freedom, into life that cannot be taken away. And the one who has turned such keys will find, in the end, that no empire, no shadow, no despair has power to close what has been opened. Thus the day that places the key in your hand does not ask whether you are strong in the eyes of the world, but whether you will be faithful in the secret choices of the heart. It asks whether you will endure, whether you will remain steadfast, whether you will hold to faith though all seems lost. For in such choices the greatest victories are won, and in such hinges the greatest doors swing open.